Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the CloudSapio Cybersecurity Sync. My name is Matt Sapio, and I'm joined today by Cooper Newby. He's from Classet. Hi, Cooper. Welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
Great to have you on today. So, Cooper, can you give us a little bit of background about Classet and what you guys do over there?
Yeah, so Classet, we focus on helping high volume hiring teams for hourly roles screen candidates quickly. So one of the biggest issues we see today, and especially in high volume roles, is you, as a candidate, you might apply to 100 jobs. It's impossible for recruiters to get back to 100 people and give everyone kind of a fair shot. So with the AI phone screener, it's really great at being engaging to every candidate and getting the full picture beyond people's resume and helping these recruiting teams ingest, hundreds of candidates really quickly and figure out like who to actually spend the time on, who's going to, you know, be a good fit for those roles. So really helping scale recruiting teams, especially, after hours when people are off their day job and are applying to jobs. So
Gotcha. So walk me through a little bit of the process. So there's an AI component to it, and when you have many different candidates coming in for a role, the AI component helps to scale down like what the skills, qualifications, and background and everything for that role is.
yeah, we set up custom scripts with hiring companies to make sure it's, presenting their company the way they want it and answering all the questions, FAQs, and diving into the pieces of the job description they really want to make sure candidates have. And then we pass all the information, the recordings and summaries on to recruiters. So we're not, we, we're very cognizant that AI can be biased. So we really want to, add transparency to everything, but we actually think it reduces bias by giving the full candidate picture and still letting, having humans in the loop. It's not meant to replace recruiters. It's meant to kind of augment their time to being on the more end of funnel closing candidates, getting them excited and making the right introductions on their team.
Gotcha. Fantastic. And would this be a tool that you would add on to like existing tools that you have internally with a company within the recruiting department or within the HR department? Or is this kind of a separate thing that would replace what's currently at the available disposal for the recruiting team?
Yeah, we do both. So we can plug into, we have like 50 integrations to ATSs that larger companies will use, but we also work with a lot of, smaller businesses that, want an ATS. So we've built out an internal applicant tracking system for those businesses as well.
Nice. That's awesome. Do you guys offer any type of like custom integrations, for specific types of systems or things like that?
Yeah. Well, if we don't already have the integration, we'll build out an integration into those applicant tracking systems if people request it.
It's awesome. Fantastic. So what kind of shifting gears a little bit, what brought you into the space? What kind of got Classet off the ground and got you moving in this type of direction?
Yeah, we founded a company called Blue Crew before, which is kind of like Uber for warehouse work.
Hmm.
So we got a ton of experience hiring, tens of thousands of people across the US for these kind of warehouse roles. And so we felt the pain of, this very transactional job process, trying to get a high volume of candidates through with a personalized feel. There was nothing built when we started that. And we started in the skilled trades because a lot of these companies are owner operated and don't have the resources to hire a full-time recruiter. A lot of times it's the office manager. So we've slowly built up all the tools you need to kind of run a full-fledged recruiting business autonomously, um, at least for the front of funnel of candidates. And then the natural next progression was kind of using that for larger and larger enterprises that are handling much higher volume of candidates coming through.
Mm-hmm. And the value that you guys are currently providing, are you noticing it more in those larger enterprises, those plus maybe 100, 200 employee demographic, or are you like moving more into that smaller under 50, startup area?
We're moving into the larger just because the smaller businesses don't have year-round hiring needs. But it's easy enough to, like, it can kind of function in a self-serve manner for smaller businesses, and for larger businesses, yeah, just they have needs year-round to be recruiting, so it works really well for that. And that's where we see, like, the savings you can have if your recruiters aren't the ones having to chase down candidates, really start to make sense, because you can do, you know, 8x the interviews with the same team you have now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that, and yeah, great point there on the year-round hiring, like needing something like a solution like that in place. And so what's the general feedback that you guys are receiving from those like larger clients that are using Classet already?
Yeah, they really like, if you've ever sat down and done 30 recruiting calls in a day, it's by the last one you're drained. So they really like the fact that they can asynchronously go through, all the people who applied overnight or on the weekend really quickly, and get the summary and listen to the call at, you know 1.5 speed. So
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of get, everything you would get in the interview call, like understanding the culture fit, their communication style, diving into things that somebody might check off the wrong box if they're applying.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll even read their resumes and dive into, like, oh, I see you've had 3 jobs in the last 5 years. Can you tell me why you left? And it answers all their questions too. So it's nice, because, or the feedback we get is, um, it's a much more efficient way to handle the people who you would otherwise have to, like, automatically disqualify or try and filter out. You really can focus more on you know the pieces, like coordinating with the hiring manager or closing the candidate once you get to this stage of an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing we get feedback on is just the conversion rate. If you are reaching out instantly, is much higher, because they more often remember the job description that they're applying to, because they're looking at it. Otherwise, previously, when we were calling everyone manually, it'd be like, oh, what job is this again?
Right.
And we've just found the drop off for candidates, if you're waiting even 3 days to reach out, is 200% higher. So getting to people before they've had a chance to interview elsewhere or look at other jobs is super important.
And just to add a clarifying question here, does the AI conduct the interview itself, where it actually asks the questions and has the conversations? That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so funny that my partner, she recently had to interview for a position, and they were using one of those tools. I don't remember what the tool was. It might have been Classet for all I know. But they were using one of those tools for the hiring. And I remember like listening in from the other room and just thinking, like, that's so cool. Like, what a great use of AI, right? Like, instead of having to have two people synchronously on a call, you can use AI for half of the component and, just review the call later, or at least the highlights or something. That's really cool. It's a really neat use of AI, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good that, 90% of the calls end with, pleasantry, like, okay, have a nice day, Steve. And they'll be like, oh yeah, have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Like, even though we are very upfront that it's AI, people forget by the end, because it's so interactive and empathetic. And
I love that. That's awesome. So kind of shifting back gears into like your past, your history, what kind of, like, tell me a little bit about your background, and kind of how you got into, I remember you said that you had a previous company that you were working with for hiring kind of like the Uber of warehouse workers. What kind of led you, tell me a little bit more about your background and what led you up to that, and then ultimately what led you into Classet.
Yeah, so we started Blue Crew out of a Stanford um, entrepreneurial class, and we started it because we all had we had worked all three of the co-founders had worked actually as temporary employees in the past and saw it was such an antiquated industry with like paper timesheets and really high markups for the hourly wage we were getting versus what the staffing agency was getting.
Mm-hmm.
So we were frustrated with that project, or that like working for temp agencies and warehouses and even in white collar jobs. So we built Blue Crew to fix those problems. Uh, and sold it to IAC, and then more recently it was acquired by EmployBridge, the largest light industrial staffing agency in the U.S. So it's
Oh, wow.
still helping automate a lot of the back office and kind of candidate interactions for staffing. But yeah, we saw there that there was a huge shortage of skilled tradesmen, which led us to Classet. So
Mm-hmm.
we got really excited about closing the skills gap and helping people hire and early stage apprentices and skilled tradesmen in a better way, since they're often too busy to, they're on the road all the time, so taking a phone call is much easier for recruiting, and too busy to sit down in front of a computer after a long day and apply to a bunch of jobs. So we just wanted to make it easier for people to find those opportunities.
That's awesome. It's fantastic. It sounds like this has been kind of carving the path towards what you're working on now. Like there's no coincidences in life technically, right?
Yeah.
Everything kind of leads to what you're supposed to be doing. So it sounds like all of the things that you've been working on all the way back to college, were kind of leading towards this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what types of, in terms of anybody that might be wanting to get into this space, maybe they have an idea, startup, app, what have you, anything like that. What words of advice would you give to maybe young entrepreneurs out there, maybe that are listening now, that are looking to maybe either get into this space or like a similar space?
Yeah, I think now's the easiest time ever to actually launch a startup, because the tools are blending where you don't have to be as technical to get something off the ground,
Yeah, sure.
with kind of AI tools. And so I wouldn't be scared by jumping into the technical side, but you can really get really far with a spreadsheet and talking to users. We started Classet as a spreadsheet with lists of candidates, and that allowed us to get in front of companies and really understand their pains. And we thought the issue in the trades initially would be like trade schools and matching those with companies, but really it turned out the issue was the bandwidth of the people doing the hiring. You can really get in front of a lot more people if you expand the bandwidth that people have to actually give candidates a shot. So I would just say, like, you can get really far with a non-technical solution just talking to clients and finding a problem that they have. It might not be the one you initially set out to, but really, if you have an idea, you can quickly stand up some stuff that feels like a product, even if the back end is a spreadsheet. Um, and once you have the attention of like some early adopters, you can really use that to your advantage and just keep focusing on digging into their problems and issue areas.
I love that. That's awesome. And technically, I mean, any business can really start from a spreadsheet, because technically all these SaaS applications that are out there are just spreadsheets with a nice GUI in front of it, right?
Yep.
So
and now you can even bypass the spreadsheet in some cases with LLMs. So.
yeah, exactly. Well, Cooper, I really appreciate you coming on today. It's been a pleasure. Before I let you go, is there any recent media that you've been consuming, podcast, book, movie, documentary, that has been kind of rattling around in your mind, or something that has recently inspired you that you would recommend to somebody that's listening?
Good question. I'm really liking all the Y Combinator YouTube videos they've been coming out with. It just kind of like
Nice.
crystallizes every problem you run into in a startup. And
Hmm.
we did YC for our last company and got those in person, but it's, you forget them over the years. So it's really validating. And to my friends who are also starting startups for the first time, I'll send them those. And every time there's some thing that you feel is like super stressful or an unknown, you can typically find a video exactly on that topic from Michael Siebel or Dalton Caldwell. So I've been really liking those.
It's a great call out. That's actually a great reminder too. I'm actually add that to my mental bookmarks to go back and start rewatching some of those as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Cooper, thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing a little bit about Classet. If anybody's out there that would like to get in touch or learn more, where's the best place for them to reach out and get connected with you or Classet?
Yeah. If you just go to classet.org, you can test out the AI phone screener and yeah, we always love connecting with people who are looking to increase their recruiting bandwidth.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it. And we will put classet.org in the video description for everybody to go click and check out. Cooper, thank you for joining us. Everyone, thank you for watching. We will see you all next time.